Hello and welcome to the Film Angle. I'm Alex.
And I'm Kris.
And today we are catching up on some of the films that we've been watching over the last few weeks. As I was away in a previous week, I haven't caught up with as much as Kris, so this is going to be a very Kris-centric episode. So if you're only here for me and not Kris, turn off the podcast now.
Okay, so now we are down to one listener, because they all probably prefer you.
That's my mum and dad and my brother, my fiance, all signing off. That's our whole audience gone.
Wow, I think that's a bigger camp than I've got anyway. Yeah, I got loads of movies to talk about. Obviously been catching up on some of big 2022 movies. Some recent cinema releases have just came out. So yeah, pretty excited to jump in and talk about some different things. And hopefully you have a couple of little films to share as well that you caught up with during your spare time.
I definitely did. I took one for the team. I've teased it out on Instagram, and well, let's just say it's a Jared Leto masterpiece.
Oh dear, you really did take one for the team then.
I did it. We made fun of it in a previous episode, Morbius, and kind of queried who that film is even for. And as a Spider-Man fan, it should be for me, right? Should we just jump into it? Should I jump into my Morbius review, or should we leave the people hanging?
No, I think the people are screaming right now. They're begging to hear about what you felt about Morbius. Please enlighten us.
Okay. As you know, Kris, and we've mentioned before in the podcast, I'm a massive Spider-Man fan. Morbius comes. He's one of Spider-Man's numerous kind of villains. I wouldn't even say he was A-list or B-list, maybe like C-list. Some interesting stuff in the comics, and there's some interesting stuff in the animated show of the 90s as well. He's got some good stuff there. But with Sony producing and Jared Leto starring, I did wonder who are they making this movie for, because nobody knows who he is outside of the Spider-Man fans, and Spider-Man fans like me, we don't care. But here they are trying to start their own Spider-Man cinematic universe. So I took one for the team, and I watched Morbius the other night, and it is boring as hell. And I went in thinking, like, we've made fun of this before, but you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Like, I will try to find something to enjoy out of this. There is an element to enjoy out of it. So opposite Jared Leto in the villain role, Matt Smith, that's Doctor Who, or a previous Doctor Who. He plays the villain Milo, who kind of gets the same powers as Jared Leto's Morbius throughout the film, and he really hams it up because he's allowed to let loose and be like truly evil with the powers. He has a lot of fun, and he's great.
We got to see him in Last Night in Soho last year, and he also hammed it up there, so we know he's good at that sort of thing, right?
He's a brilliant actor, and honestly, I think he's my favorite Doctor Who. And I know it's blasphemous to Doctor Who fans because everybody loves David Tennant, but I think he just has those kind of weird alien features, and he is just very alien in his personality. I think very quirky, and I love him as the Doctor, and I loved him here, and it just made me really sad that he wasn't in a better film, because he deserves a better film. And do you know what? He deserves a good Marvel film. I think he should be a villain, a hero. I don't mind. He's good at it all. But the biggest crime that Morbius commits is just, it's so dull. It's so boring. It's so dull. Like, Jared Leto's not bad in it. Like, nobody's bad in it. It's just so uninspired, and I didn't care about any of the characters. It commits that awful sin of a comic book movie, just being straight up boring. Nothing is interesting. Nothing is new. Nothing is original.
Very short for a sort of superhero type movie as well, isn't it? It's like 90 minutes long, which is really short.
Yeah, they've definitely trimmed the fat on this one, but I'm glad, because I was almost falling asleep, and I've never fallen asleep to a film, and I was very close to falling asleep in this film.
Wow.
So there you go. Should everybody go out and see Morbius? Absolutely not. If you're a Matt Smith fan, there's stuff to like, but maybe just catch his scenes on YouTube.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a double whammy with Jared Leto. I mean, he first had House of Gucci and that performance last year, and now he's been saddled with this movie. So, yeah, he needs to turn it around soon and remind us why we like Jared Leto. Um,
Do we? Does
I
anybody like
know,
Jared
right?
Leto
That's
that
that's the
much?
big argument, isn't it? Like, do we like Jared Leto? We keep being reminded or being told that we do.
He's a
I'm
bit
not
of a
sure.
weird, slightly problematic
Yeah, because
actor.
even though I loved the legacy sequel of Blade Runner 2049, he was the weakest element of that movie too.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. He needs to convince me still.
Yeah, when he hams it up too much, and when he's trying, he almost tries a little too hard. Um, like the director, which I believe is Daniel Espinosa,
Okay,
mentioned that Jared Leto would literally stay in character. As so, Morbius has a he he has a deficiency where, like, I don't know, like his legs don't work very well and he's gonna die. Like his life expectancy is pretty low and stuff like
sounds
that.
like a
He has
barrel
to
of
walk on
laughs.
crutches, and that's why he merges bat DNA with himself to
The obvious
prolong that.
choice.
The obvious choice, and ultimately turns himself into a vampire, etc., etc. But when he was like the character in crutches and stuff like that, he would still use the crutches to like go to the loo in between takes and stuff like that. And it would
There's
just
no
like
need for that.
it would just add so much time to shooting, and they just like everything was so slow. You just think like, oh, dude,
Yeah, you're not
like
making
it's
Raging
just
Bull or American History X here. You're making Morbius. You don't need to go full method here.
it's just Morbius. It's just Morbius, and if you're a Marvel fan, there are after credit scenes. They kind of tie into the Spider-Man of the MCU. They make no sense. Absolute, like no logical sense within the rules set by previous films. Not really much sense here, and it's glaringly obvious that like nobody was in the same room at the, at the same time. Jared Leto's definitely like acting against nothing, and he's just like, yeah,
Oh boy, I
oh,
really feel for you. I mean, like I remember when I've seen that I went to the cinema quite a lot this year, and pretty much the first half of the year, every time I went to the cinema, the Morbius trailer came on, and you just knew by looking at the trailer, and that's bad. Like a superhero movie trailer can't even look exciting. It looked so like visually drab and flat, and it's just nothing. It didn't look good, and it looked very dodgy CGI, and all the special effects look really weird too. So yeah, you took one for the team for sure. By the signs of it, I might catch up with it one day, but I still haven't caught up with the Venom movies, so I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
honestly, none of them are worth catching up with. None of them are worth it. But there you go. So, Chris, go on. Let me know. What have you been watching?
Well, I went to see, so I managed to go see a screening of Alex Garland's new horror fantasy drama film, Men,
Yes.
which is produced by production company A24, which has produced many prestige horror films in the last 10 years. We would say Alex Garland, of course, is quite a celebrated writer director. His last two films, Ex Machina and Annihilation, were both very impressive and thought provoking, and he likes to put a lot of thought behind his movies. Man's no exception. It's a very interesting film. It's not for everyone. We had about three different people walk out during the film, which is yeah, because it is very heavy on the body horror.
Okay.
I won't spoil it out of context, but the third act really does feature some of the most toe curling body horror, which is really like evocative of David Cronenberg's movies and even say like John Carpenter's The Thing. It's very like
Okay. I wasn't expecting that from Men. From the trailer, I was looking at more of a psychological thing, but to hear it has body or horror does pique my interest.
it the what you've seen in the trailer is certainly like the first two thirds of the movie, and then the third act just really goes for it. Yeah, it keeps a lot behind the curtain until you see it, so won't spoil anything crazy here. Essentially, the story follows a woman by the name of Harper who goes on a solo holiday to the English countryside to escape the aftermath of her ex-husband's recent death. We get numerous segmented flashbacks during the film that shows us the events of the day her husband fell from a balcony in their high-rise flat in London. So whether this is a suicide or not is speculation. We that comes together pieced by segmented flashbacks. What begins as a sort of like a promise of an idyllic escape quickly turns into the sinister, surreal, and maddening strain of events that involves all the men in the village and their attitude towards Harper. It's worth noting that every man who resides in this village, whether it be the landlord, the policeman, even the schoolboy, are all played by Rory Kinnear, which is probably the most unsettling part of the film. Harper, of course, is played by the always incredible Jessie Buckley, who is just the most incredible actor. Ever since her role in Wild Rose in 2019, she has just continued to impress with her like unshakable screen presence. And quite frankly, I'd watch her in anything, and this film was no exception.
Yeah, she's really kind of shone brightly recently. Recent Oscar nomination this year, and I think it's going to be one of many. I think she's definitely got a bright career ahead of her.
Yeah, all the big directors want to work with her at the minute. You still haven't caught up with Wild Rose, have you?
I have not. I have
Def-
not.
Definitely check it out, man. I mean, it's a award winning performance in of itself. Um, Now, this I'm not really going to get into the nitty gritty, like I said, of what I think the film means, because the events of the movie of Men are is very straightforward. And it's easy to follow the movie in the A to B of what happens. Alex Garland has really sewn in little notions of thoughts and ideas surrounding masculinity, guilt, even English paganism is thrown in there. And there is ambiguity woven throughout Men, and some of that may have substance, and some of the ideas may just be misdirection. It's really hard. It's very vague on those little details, and
Yeah.
it's up for you to really decide. But if you're a fan of horror films that A24 have produced over the last like several years and really like horror movies that aren't just peeking around the corner and something jumping out at you, and instead like something a bit more thoughtful, disturbing, viscerally creepy, then please check out Man. It's really worth your time.
Yeah, interesting, interesting. I think it was always on my kind of watch list, but the reviews that came out were very mixed, and it's
Surprisingly,
kind
wasn't it?
of,
Yeah.
yeah, surprisingly mixed. Because Alex Garland has obviously made you know, a couple of really good films recently with Ex Machina and
Annihilation, yeah.
Annihilation. That's it. Two which are really really good. And a lot of critics saying he might have dropped the ball on this one. What's your kind of take on that?
I think it's in that same sort of wheelhouse as like big movies that really swing for it, like Mother, like what we got from Darren Aronofsky, where it's really doing something really big and gesturous, and it's up to really you if that's your thing or not. It's either going to be or not. So I think it's worth checking out anyway because you might really go for it. I really fell for the mood of it of the whole thing, and I think Jessie Buckley is worth the price of admission by herself. She just really carries it really well.
Nice one, Chris. What else? What else have you been watching?
Well, so the previous, not last Friday, the Friday before, the newest film from Adam Sandler came out on Netflix, which is called Hustle, and is directed by Jeremiah Zager, and is especially about a basketball sports comedy drama centering on Sandler's character, Stanley Sugarman, who is a basketball scout who discovers a phenomenal street ball player while he is touring around Spain and really sees the potential in this young man and really wants to get him into the NBA. Stanley has a really strong relationship with the basketball team's club owner, who's played by Robert Duvall. Yeah, he's still acting. Um, yeah, still acting very well. Who sadly passes away though in this movie at the beginning of this movie, um, leaving the team in the hands of his son, who's played by Ben Foster, who isn't so fond of Stanley and becomes a real obstacle. Firstly, you know when Ben Foster shows his face that he's not going to be the good guy, right? But that's just because he's just so good at being sly, and you really do hate him as a character. He does that a lot. I mean, like movies like 310 to Yuma, he played a really good villain in that, and he's sort of typecasted in that role, but he does such a good job of it. It doesn't really mind. So good work there. I thought the film, Alex, was a really nice and entertaining watch. You come in at an actually dead on 2 hours long, and it really didn't feel that way. Actually, in fact, I was quite taken aback when the movie suddenly stops. So it's very entertaining. It does all the things you've seen before and follows the typical roadmap of like a sports comedy. Guy finds diamond in the rough player. The player plays well in front of him, and then when he actually has to play well in front of the people he needs to play well against, he chokes. Then we get a personal obstacle. Then we get a training montage, and then we get a truth reveal that ruins everything before finally making up and coming back for the big game that saves the day. So we've all been familiar with these sort of underdog style sports movies before. It's not reinventing the wheel, but what it does do is all those things really, really well. Sandler gives a very likable, dynamic performance that is never too showy. The film is shot really well, especially the basketball court sequences that really ramp up the tension, and the movie manages just to hit all the beats it needs to.
Nice, nice. He's learnt a lot from his time on Uncut Gems, maybe.
He's still sporting the beard as well.
Brilliant, brilliant. Though it wasn't his last film. His last film was Hubie Halloween.
Oh, that is correct. And this film is, it's worth mentioning as well. It's also a Happy Madison um, production as well. So it's like he's hybriding the old Sandler ways with the Uncut Gems ways and meeting somewhere safe in the middle.
So
Um,
still relatively funny then.
Okay, yeah. It's a drama first, but has little like sprinkles of humor throughout. It's a lighthearted sort of movie. The film boasts many big players and personalities from basketball who play themselves in the movie, which unfortunately went over my head because I don't know about you, I don't follow basketball, but I'm sure there are many people who will really get a kick out of that. Yeah, really solid, entertaining film, and anyone listening can currently catch Hustle while it is streaming on Netflix.
Nice, nice. Well, talking of actors who are larger than life, bigger than the characters they play,
Okay, go for
uh,
it.
I caught up with The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I know you've seen it recently, and you
Yes.
spoke briefly about it on a previous podcast. I just wanted to add my 2 cents to the film.
Love to hear what you think about it.
Very much enjoyed it. Very much enjoyed Nicolas Cage as always, and really loved him with Pedro Pascal and their kind of relationship in the film. I could have just watched those two guys just nerding out about films and getting accidentally high together and all that kind of stuff.
The
I I
cutest couple, aren't they?
I could really watch all of that. The only bit that kind of like maybe cast a shadow on the film was like the story itself just kind of didn't didn't work for me. The kind of espionage in Mallorca of all places.
Yeah.
It was just yeah, it was there to kind of push the story along. But it didn't. I mean, I guess there's a few moments like when Nicolas Cage has to um, go into a disguise at the end and stuff like that, which kind of brings out some comedy. But for me, I didn't care for the story. I just wanted to see Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal together. And the joy of the film is watching Nicolas Cage have so much fun playing himself, a heightened version of himself.
Yeah.
Um, but he was yeah, no, it was a great film. Actually, no, it was a good film. It was a good film, but it didn't reach the heights of like something amazing.
I think the thing about the film is that the whole movie is just the one joke and they make the most of that one joke, and I think they're wise to not make it too long because that one joke will wear a bit thin after a while. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun. I think the villain was a bit weak. Maybe that's something.
Yes, yes. I forgot there was even a main villain, to
Yeah.
be honest with
Well,
you.
I like the whole movie. I don't know if the movie wants you to kind of know at the start, but it's like so obvious at the beginning. Like the bad guy is it Pedro Pascal's like cousin or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he's like in the background of the movie, and the audience are still to believe that Pedro Pascal's the villain, but like you could just tell by looking at the guy in the background from the first scene that he's the actual bad guy. So
Yeah.
when the movie like does the big reveal, it's like, yeah, I kind of knew that half an hour ago anyway.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, Pedro Pascal plays it with this kind of like, oh, I'm very innocent, so could there be something lurking deeper that I'm hiding? Which he does well, but yeah, I think the film does kind of reveal its cards pretty early on.
Yeah. Yeah, well, glad you liked it. Like, I agree with you. It's a solid movie. Well, thanks for sharing that, Alex. We can talk about a movie I seen, which is an interesting sci-fi film that's called Jewel,
Okay.
which stars Karen Gillan and Aaron Paul, and is directed and written by Riley Stearns, who made a film 2 years ago called The Art of Self-Defense, which is a film I really enjoyed. Um, as a filmmaker, he has really solidified his style. I feel he creates these very surreal depictions of the world where everybody speaks in a very unemotional way, almost like a robotic tone. In fact, everybody speaks like very mechanically and openly externalizes their internal feelings. So it's not for everyone, to say the least. I find it very interesting in the art of self defense. I'm not sure it works quite as well here. So Karen Gillan's character, who's called Sarah, has been diagnosed with a terminal illness and is given only months to live. And she is offered a package that you can opt for, which is available to any terminally ill patients, that gives you the choice to have yourself cloned before you die. The clone of yourself is to shadow you over your last couple of months, learn about you and your life, and then replace you when you die so that your loved ones don't have to live with the grief as it's advertised. But
Wow.
this big, yeah, it's a strange, interesting concept, but begins to sour the whole thing when Sarah, after a couple of months, is still living and breathing, and finds out that her diagnosis was actually wrong and that she's going to live. So yeah, but the government has this rule in place that will not allow a clone and the original person to both be alive because it will disrupt the natural flow of things. So there's a court ordered scheduled duel to the death that they both have to go have to face
Wow.
in half a year's time.
I
And
have never heard of this. Well, actually, do you know what? I think I saw a poster, but I had no idea what this film was. That plotline alone has me sold. Do not spoil this film, Chris. I
no,
want to watch this. This. What the hell is going on? This is a bizarre sci-fi plot. I'm really intrigued.
it is very intriguing, and the premise is great. And it's very interesting concept. It has the potential to be quite thoughtful and provocative, but to be honest, I thought the presentation of it, with the very literal dialogue and how people speak together, married with how unemotional and cold this movie is, it just looked, it just began to wear thin with me. It has black comedy elements that I feel are just misjudged here, and
Okay.
far too detached emotionally from what's going on. It's just not, it's just not me, because the same approach was made with his last film and I really liked that one, but here the film became plotting, and rather than being funny, it was isolating, and visually it was just very drab. Like it wasn't all bad. I do feel that Karen Gillan gives a very committed performance. That there were very interesting ideas peppered throughout. It's just a shame the whole package didn't come together for me. But I know a lot of people really did like the film. There is a lot of positive reviews out there. So I'd be really interested to see what you think about it too, and we can have a bit of a discussion about that. But yeah, it was middle of the road for me.
Yeah, I think the premise alone is really interesting, and I love sci-fi's like that where there's it's almost like there's one element in the world that's changed, but it changes so much like that one element,
Mhm.
and I like films that kind of play on that and how that kind of affects everything. But then to hear that it's a comedy, yeah, the premise doesn't sound like a like a funny film. Um,
Well, it's a black comedy in the fact that it's uncomfortable humor.
gotcha.
You're dealing with taboo subjects and people speaking in ways that aren't familiar to us, and saying
Yeah.
that you're vocalizing things that are in your mind that you would probably keep in your mind. So that's where the uncomfortability comes into it.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I think I know obviously you are kind of mixed on this one, but yeah, you're right. I think it's worth checking out anyway, just for um an intriguing premise alone.
Mm. But yeah, even though it's a little bit of a somber note, I'm gonna finish up on a really light note here. I'm a big fan of this TV show. I was really excited when the Bob's Burgers movie was announced. I don't know if have you ever seen Bob's Burgers before?
I have seen Bob's Burgers. I'm a fan. I haven't seen all of them, but my fiance is a really big fan of the series and has watched I think pretty much all of them. So I know she wants to go see this at some point.
Oh wow, I had no idea. We've just been like we've known each other for so long, and we didn't know that watched Bob's Burgers, but here we are. I'm a huge fan of Bob's Burgers, which for anyone who doesn't know is this animated TV show which centers around a family called the Belchers, who own a burger restaurant. You got Bob, Linda, Tina, Jane, and Louise. They're a really quirky but sweet family unit who are very working class and try to keep their restaurant running while chaos and other outside influences threaten them. The movie has the same sort of plot and production value as something like the Simpsons movie. It has that very much that look to it. So the same sort of studio polish. You know, it looks exactly like the TV show, but this time you have enough budget for shadows. So
Yes. Yeah, it's
that's
kind
the
of
difference.
weird. I remember watching the trailer thinking, someone it looks like Bob's Burgers, but there's something weird about it.
But they had enough time to put shadows in there. Yeah. The plot for this movie just focuses really on the Belchers trying to save the restaurant from closing down as a sinkhole forms in front of it. At the same time, the Belcher kids try to solve a mystery that could save their family's restaurant. So it's got a very typical sort of like it's an episodic sort of plot. It's basically one giant episode, which is really all it really needs to be. I mean, if you haven't watched it, I would actually really recommend the show as a good. Well, actually, I would recommend you watch the movie first as a good introduction to Bob's Burgers because what this is, it's essentially, like I said, like a feature-length episode that retreads themes that happened earlier on in the first couple of series. So character arcs are revisited. What I really like about it is how breezy the film is. It's so easy on the eye, vibrant, bursting with lots of likable characters who are all on different planets from each other, really, but for some reason seem to really gel well and get on. And it's really nice and refreshing to like have an animated show that isn't centered around horrible people. You know, like so many adult comedies are
Yes.
like about horrible people. You got Family Guy, you know, American Dad, um, even Rick and Morty. Like you can't say any of these people are good people, but what you
Yeah.
can say about the Belchers is that they're very nice people, and you like seeing funny situations with nice people, and it's a bit refreshing. I was chuckling all the way through. Great little Easter eggs in the background, some really fun and catchy musical numbers. And just a really relaxing cinema going experience. I didn't know I needed a Bob's Burgers movie, but I did.
All right, guys. For the last kind of part of this show, we're actually gonna tease the next episode. So last, well, actually, it wasn't last time. It was a few episodes ago. We decided to start a segment called "The Films That Streaming Forgot," and we challenged each other to a film in the depths of kind of like the streaming services. This On our first episode, we both found films on Amazon Prime. I found a film called Derailed for Chris to watch, and Chris challenged me to watch maybe the worst film ever made, Atlantis Untold.
There's a
So
case to be made there. Yeah.
we've gone searching again, and we found another two films for each other to watch. And next episode we will discuss them, review them, and kind of see whether they are actually worth watching or whether they should be forgotten on the streaming services, like they pretty much already are. Um, Chris, where did you find your film this time? What streaming service am I going to have to go to this weekend?
Right. So you're going to the treasure trove that is Amazon Prime Video. So this is a free Prime um to stream. We've discussed this before, but Prime is just, like I said, a treasure trove of absolute monstrosities that you can find, and it's quite fun just to even like go through the sea. It's a shame that Prime has just such a terrible navigation system for finding these sort of movies, but they are to be there's loads to be found anyway. So that's where I got yours.
Nice. Same here. There's some, like you said, there's a lot of rubbish on Prime, but there's also a lot of these like little gems which you just didn't even know you wanted to watch,
Hmm.
and that's why you kind of have to like trawl through it sometimes. But I think last time I revealed my film first to you, Chris, so I think this time maybe you should reveal to me what I'm going to be watching this weekend and reviewing next episode.
Right, you lucky boy. So for you, Alex, I have a really just a nice light-hearted treat just relaxing home viewing here. Nice Sunday afternoon film you can watch with the dog and keep the dog in mind. Only 85 minutes long, so that's something. That's a vast improvement from last time, from like last time's 2 hour movie that I gave you, because I know I wasn't exactly fair to you last time. So
You were.
actually, the word cruel might be more accurate when I said last, when referring to last time's film. But the movie I picked for you, Alex, is called A Dog and Pony Show.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so the synopsis, according to IMDb, goes like this. When a fussy performing dog is left behind by a traveling carnival and adopted by a lonely farm boy, bumbling thieves from a rival circus plot to kidnap the priceless pooch. Now, they're actually before you sigh and deflate here, there is actually some pedigree in here that you'll be glad to know.
Oh,
There
oh,
is, no pun intended. The voicing the main dog Dee Dee in this is the voice of Mae Whitman, who famously voiced Katara in the Nickelodeon show Avatar: The Last Airbender,
oh.
as well as being in like many live action movies like Perks of Being a Wallflower, The Duff, and many more. And we've also got Academy Award winning actress Mira Sorvino playing one of the human characters. So, like I said, there's some talent here.
Okay. Okay. 85 minutes, a dog thing.
I watched the trailer and there's a twerking pig.
A twerking pig. Interesting. Interesting. Ralph Macchio's in it, I see. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. Okay. Okay. It's got a lot of 1-star ratings on Letterboxd.
Oh dear.
And yeah. Okay. Okay. Shall I watch the trailer?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Meet the greatest duo of all time.
Shrek and Dee
We're partners, Dee Dee.
That's what I like to hear.
I mean, the most talented dog I've ever seen in my life.
Get me that dog.
But the show's top dog
Help! Stay dog.
Dee Dee's gone.
is about to hit an all-time low.
When PT realizes I'm gone, he'll send a search party.
Poor Dee.
Keep your nose out of my business! She got away.
Who is this?
I am a star.
Maybe we can keep her until we find her owner.
Seriously?
Featuring the voice of Mae Whitman as Dee Dee, Ralph Macchio, Patrick Muldoon, and Academy Award winner Mira Sorvino.
So, this is what being a real dog feels like.
Hubba hubba. A dog and pony show.
Hubba hubba.
Hey, she stole my line.
That looks like at least like you can watch that. Like you can coherently watch that movie.
Yeah, I just witnessed a pig twerking. So there you go. It's interesting. Looks interesting. Yeah, it doesn't look as painful to watch as Atlantis Untold was, but it does still look relatively painful. But you know what? 85 minutes, I think I can survive. Chris, turns out there's a bit of a theme for next week's episode.
Oh boy.
So I have found for you on Amazon Prime a film about a dog as well. But this film is taking it back to 1997. This film is called My Ghost Dog.
My Ghost Dog?
Yes. So the tagline is A Bark from Beyond. And then on Letterboxd, the synopsis reads, Dog's ghost returns to help boy win a custody battle, fight bullies, and find his loving but shy stepdad a nice girlfriend.
So this is like the plot of Jack Frost, but with like a ghost dog.
Yep. And do you know what? I watched a little bit of it just to see what I was getting you into, and the stream looks like it's been like just scanned off of a VHS tape.
Oh no!
But I think there's fun to be had. It looks pretty sweet. I think, we've definitely got a very dog-themed episode coming up next week.
Is that what we think about each other? It's like I before I even picked this movie, I was like, I'm gonna pick a dog movie for Alex because you used to always show me like trailers of washed up actors voicing dogs in movies, and you used to really like it. So I thought this would be a perfect movie for you. So
Yeah, I think maybe we've gone down a more heartwarming route this kind of episode, and maybe that's just the times we're in. Who knows? You wanted to be a bit kinder to me. I wanted to be a little bit worse to you, but not too kind. And I thought maybe switch up from the B movie horror and go down a different route. Do you know what? I think like if you chose this film for me, I wouldn't be mad. So I think you should give the trailer a watch. I will say though, it does have an alternate title. So some places it's called My Ghost Dog, and in other places it's called My Magic Dog. So, Chris, go watch the trailer on YouTube, but you're going to have to type in My Magic Dog. Okay? My Magic Dog trailer.
Okay.
Toby is a little boy.
Hello, darling.
Caught in the middle
Nix, Chad.
of a big, cruel world.
My nephew stands to inherit my father's enormous fortune. Not if I can help it.
And his lucky guardian angel is one of the few friends he can truly count on.
Good morning, Dad.
Morning.
Look. Lucky's back.
He's what?
He's a ghost dog.
Why are you walking around here talking to your dead dog?
If you're gonna talk to something dead, at least talk to Abraham Lincoln.
Are you two interested in making some money?
Now the mystery of a missing will must be solved to save Toby's future. And some heavenly help could be the only way to save the day.
Who's out there? The Curse of Lucky.
Yes!
My Magic Dog.
That was something else. It looks like it has a start, beginning, has a beginning, middle, and end. So that's something there. They always use golden retrievers for these movies, right?
Well, they're the best breeds.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. You have a golden retriever. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. No. It looks like it's definitely watchable anyway. And at least the dog isn't talking, which is more than I can say about your movie. Oh.
I've seen a bit of the film. Let's just say the dog might talk.
Oh, so they keep a couple of cards up their sleeves. That's something anyway.
They didn't reveal everything on the trailer, Chris.
Oh, it looks so dull and grey too. It looks like it's just shot on your home video. It looks like a home movie. At least it's only an hour and a half. So I'll put up with it. I'll report back to you.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm looking forward to discussing these films with you next week. So yeah, those are our films. A Dog and Pony Show from 2018. I'm going to have to watch and review and get back to you with that one, Chris. And you're going to be watching My Ghost Dog from 1997. Both again on Amazon Prime, the treasure trove of weird streaming films. So yeah, next week, guys, another episode of the films that streaming forgot. I'm looking forward to chatting to you about these films, Chris.
Yeah. You see, I think we're getting the premise all wrong here. We're supposed to be finding movies that shouldn't be forgotten, and we're just finding things that don't only need to be forgotten, but need to be incinerated.
Well, that's why we're watching them, to find out. You don't know. You don't know, man.
It's not looking promising. Looking forward to talking about it.
So, I guess I'll see you next week then, Chris. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please, share us with your friends, rate us on Spotify, leave a review on Apple. It all helps, and come follow us on Instagram. But thank you for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next week. This is The Film Angle, and I'm Alex.
And I'm Chris.
Goodbye.
Bark, bark.